Hi, this is MarkLittle. I'm going to spend some time in this video going through, let's call it a secret to consistently exceed affluent ideal clients' expectations. Now, just for context, I do regular videos on serving clients as a financial advisor, delivering truly comprehensive financial services. I've developed a method that I've been teaching for 25 years, which I implemented myself. I'm still actively a financial advisor, but what makes the method unique is that it consistently exceeds the expectations of what amount to very fussy, picky, affluent, ideal clients. And that's saying something to be able to consistently exceed their expectations as measured by client referrals. Now, why do I roll my eyes when I say this is about a secret? I almost considered not doing this video. It is so basic. It is so fundamental to delivering service. I'm talking about high-end professional services. These types of clients that I thought, oh, everybody watching these videos has already figured this out, has already nailed this down. Then I had a call with one of our clients just today. This issue became a problem. I thought, okay, I'll do a video. I would encourage you, once I get into this, to stick through to the end, because there are some pieces and parts of this which I've come to find that financial advisors or professionals offering high-end professional services, they miss a piece or two of this. This is one of these things that for this to work properly, to effectively implement what I'm talking about, you need to implement all the pieces and parts of this. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about maintaining notes. All right. So again, don't turn this off. I want you to hear me through. Imagine a world where you're serving a small community of affluent, ideal, fussy, picky clients. But in the end, they just want to achieve their financial objectives. They want to make better financial decisions. They don't want any financial surprises. They're relying on you. They've hired you as their financial advisor to make sure that everything's well coordinated, that you've got a process so thorough, you've got a process so proactive that nothing falls through the cracks. How do you assure that? In the model that I teach, you deliver that through a team. Now, there's advantages to a team. Chief among them is that the fact that you've built a team to deliver, in our case, truly comprehensive financial services to retail clients, individuals and families, but not just at any level. I'm talking about comprehensive financial services at a level that is radically different and better, a substantially higher level than any of your clients have ever experienced from any other advisor. So let's say the stakes are high. If you're going to make commitments upfront to a potential client like this, that our process is so thorough, our process ensures things don't fall through the cracks, so that Mr. and Mrs. potential client, I can commit to you that you'll always be on track to your objectives because we're thorough. You're always going to take advantage of every planning opportunity because we're so thorough, we're so proactive, and you will make better decisions in all areas of finance because we're thorough. How do you get so thorough? The idea of having a team means that you've got expanded skill. You've got team members who are highly specialized in various levels of expertise. Let's say financial planning, money management, estate planning, tax, and risk and safety. The idea of creating a plan to increase the safety of the plan. That takes a certain skill on a certain type of professional that can do that sort of thing. So you've got these 5 areas in my model. You have a deep bench that immediately increases the quantity and the quality of the recommendations you're providing to every client. Now, that's a good thing. What's wrong with that? Nothing. That's why we do it. What are the drawbacks? The drawback's communication. The drawback is the idea that with a team of 5 subject matter experts, like I just described, plus me as the trusted advisor, plus my administrative manager, who is the administrative support person that's coordinating all of this. And then you count the subject matter experts, the accountants, the lawyers, chartered financial analysts, money managers, all these people that are on the team, they've got assistants. We're talking about 20 people potentially serving a community of, let's call it 50 clients on average. Left hand might not know what the right hand's doing unless you have a really solid plan to communicate. Communicate whenever there's been an interaction regarding a client. Let me just paint the picture for you. Let's say a client calls in to alert us to a financial situation in their account. All right. It's the time of year where I'm worried about making sure that this isn't going to screw up the tax strategy for the year. So I loop in the tax accountant on our team who I've assigned to serving this client. Because of the nature of the financial issue the client called in about, there's now going to be a windfall of money coming in before the end of the year. So I loop in the financial planning subject matter expert and I loop in the money management subject matter expert. I've got 3 experts. Before we approach the client for more details on the good news that they called us about, we have a little internal huddle. We try to brainstorm very quickly, 5-10 minute phone call, trying to identify all the financial issues that are surrounding this thing that the client has just alerted us to. So we have a little internal meeting. That's an interaction. That's an interaction related to this client. So imagine if we had somebody from our team, another one of the subject matter experts, just serendipitously, maybe the estate planning lawyer had a quick question for the client and they contact the client after they've told us about this new situation, but before we've really announced it to our team that this situation has occurred. Let's say hypothetically, our estate planning attorney calls up the client. The client says, "Hey, have you heard the good news?" Imagine if the estate planning lawyer said, "Yes, I am completely aware of this new windfall that you've got coming in. Just so you know, I just saw an internal readout that 3 of the team members on your team, the tax accountant, the money management, and the financial planner, have just met earlier today to coordinate a strategy so they can get back with you and give some advice." Imagine how impressed that client is about how on this team, everybody seems to know what's going on. We have an extraordinary communications methodology. It works really well. This client doesn't have to worry about, does this team know what they're doing? Imagine the opposite occurred. Let's say the estate planning lawyer on our team contacted the client. We had no communication methods set up so that the team knows what's going on related to this client. So the lawyer calls up and says, "Hey, I had a quick question about whatever he was calling about." The client says, "Hey, have you heard the good news?" Our lawyer says, "No, what good news?" I'm not going to say it's the end of the relationship, but it depends on what it is. I've been working with clients for 40 years, and I know some things that blow up really bother the client. And if it had been a problem as opposed to some good news that the client was trying to share with us, I can tell you the client is very sensitive to making sure that our team is solving the problem. And if one of our team members doesn't even know about the problem, it's not good. It's not good. On the positive side, having this sort of a system set up, I'm going to say a communications method where the left hand always knows what the right hand's doing. And everybody on the team is fully updated pretty much in real time about every significant issue related to this client. On the good side, the client's impressed. If something goes wrong, the client will have more confidence and be more calmed by the fact that they know that this team is on top of it, that they can trust that, at least from a standpoint of communications, everybody on our team knowing their role in fixing whatever the problem is. This communication methodology is really important. At the end of the day, I am talking about having an effective team. Any successful professional at the level, dealing with the client at the level that I'm describing, this is an issue. It's an issue of communicating when something's going on related to that client. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about taking notes. It's really all I'm talking about. So And we have a general company-wide standard. I suggest you consider making the same standard. When somebody new comes on our team, we have a little memo we ask everyone to sign off on, and it's the general standards of the firm. But one of them is that you will provide the interaction log, which is what we call notes from any interaction, that a new team member agrees to provide the interaction log, which is their notes from any interaction they have related to anything relating to our firm, that they submit their notes from that interaction to our administrative manager, which is our day-to-day operations person. But that everybody on the team knows they have a business interaction of any sort. It could be an email. It could be, they could bump into a client at a grocery store. That's an interaction. It could be two internal subject matter experts talking just among themselves about this client. So it might not even involve the client other than the topic of conversation was the client. It could be a meeting with the client. All of these are examples of business interactions related to this client. Okay. So anybody on our team that has any kind of an interaction related to a client, they pledge that they will get the notes from that interaction to our administrative manager within one business day. That's the standard. Then our administrative manager further commits that once those notes are received, what we call the interaction log, they are immediately distributed to everyone who's assigned to that client. Then we have a permanent place for these interaction logs where when we pull up the folder for that client, there's a folder for interaction logs. Every single interaction related to this client is listed in chronological order, so that anybody who's assigned to this client can go back and see the notes of any internal discussion or discussion with the client, anything related to this client. All the interactions across the team are in that folder and are easily accessible by anyone on the team that's assigned to that client. This is tip number one, have company-wide standards. There are others that really need to go on there, but for the purpose of this video, you have everyone on the team pledge that they will get their notes to a single simple point of contact on your team. On my team, we call this the administrative manager, who is the hub. It's a hub and spoke methodology on our team. So we've assigned the administrative manager to that all information regarding clients flows through this single, simple point of failure. So that means we've got an individual who realizes that if they screw up, the whole house of cards could fall down. So we know we have a single person we can hold accountable to making sure that everyone on the team is in compliance with the request, that they are actually sending their notes within one business day. Then once they've been received, those notes get distributed out to everyone else on the team that's relevant to this client. That would be any team member on our team that's assigned to that client. Okay, fine. So what am I talking about notes? What needs to be in these notes? Used to be, I just would ask people to just send me your notes. Do you have a phone call with a client, or you talk to another one team member about a client, or if you contact the client and just have a conversation with them about anything, we need your notes. And at the beginning, we would just say, just send them in whatever format you've got them. And oh my gosh, we got them. Looked like some of these notes were drawn with a crayon on the back of a cocktail napkin. And then I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, when was this meeting? Where was this meeting? Who else was in the meeting? You get the idea. So what is an interaction log? I want you to think of it as three chunks. So the first thing on the interaction log is the metadata. It tells not just the content of what was discussed, but the who, what, when, where of the meeting. Who was in this interaction? What was discussed? When did this occur? I'm talking about a date and a time on this day and date at this time. Then where? Was it a Zoom meeting? Did you bump into them at a restaurant, or did you call them up on the phone or whatever? Now, the what part is actually the main section of the notes. What was discussed? Now, the way we train it at our firm is we don't want a transcript. Matter of fact, don't even think about using AI or transcription services to shortcut doing these interaction logs. Just forget it completely. These notes need to be curated by a human on our team. And when I say curated, not a transcript, we don't want detailed notes in the interaction log. Rather, we want bullet pointed headlines of everything that was discussed. We discussed this, we discussed that, we discussed this, that, and the other. So imagine the what of your notes being here's what was discussed, but it's only the headline, none of the detail, none of the critical details that would show up in a transcript, but enough information to get the gist of what was discussed and what was resolved. So this was the headline, and then sub bullets would be, we decided to boom. So think of it as just bullet pointed, kind of an outline. Here are the items that were discussed. Here's the headlines. And then underneath the sub bullets would be, and here's was what we decided. Here's what was resolved. Here's what the outcome of that little headline conversation was. Okay. So you've got the metadata, you've got the what was discussed. The third and final section of the interaction log is action items. So what's the next step? You need to have who, what, when, where, and the what is just bullet pointed headlines. But the final section is always, and here's the next steps. This person is going to do this task by this date. Got to be very clear and specific who's accountable for each next step, what's the target date for that next step, and what is the action. It's got to be clear, coherent, concise, specific. You get the idea. But that's it. When I say the interaction log, it's just a fancy term that I trademarked for the notes that are described in a way that somebody else could read them and understand the notes. I don't care if it's an email. If I get an email from a client, then I might copy some of the email and just paste it in to the interaction log as far as what purpose of the email was. But every interaction log has these three sections: the metadata, the what was discussed and resolved, and what are the next step action items. That's an interaction log. You make that a company-wide standard. You begin holding people accountable, getting them aside one-on-one, communicating with anyone who's not complying with this, and you give access to everyone assigned to that client to all these interaction logs. Well, imagine this. Let me tell you the outcome of doing this. First of all, it sounds so basic. It sounds so stupid. You would think, doesn't everybody already do this? No, they don't. Well, here I am, the CEO of a firm. I was chatting with a client today, and after the call, I just sent him my interaction log that I was providing to my own team anyway. And he was like, wow, you take the time to do that? I'm thinking, if you're going to be successful for these type of affluent ideal clients at the level that will exceed their expectations and not irritate or blow up someday so that the whole relationship is called into question, then no, this is typically not done. I consistently send my interaction log to just various people that I'm chatting with, only to find out that this is not something they do at their firm, to which I say, you need to start doing that, especially if you have a team delivering services. So you have a company-wide standard, you have a format for these notes, you provided access to everyone. Why is it worth the effort to do this? Other than the obvious reasons that it's more thorough, it's more proactive, and nobody on the team can say the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, because you can't make your team read these notes. But if anything ever blows up that's attributable back to one team member and you find out that they didn't read the notes, let me put it this way. On my team, that's not a 3 strikes you're out situation. It could be a 1 strike you're out situation. We provide a method for the communication on our team to be world-class. We expect our team to utilize these. I was in a mergers and acquisitions project 2 years ago. One of my partners, one of the co-founders of this deal that we were putting together, made a comment in a meeting to me. And she said, oh, I'm just not a notes kind of person. I said, what do you mean by that? She goes, I don't provide notes. I don't read them before I go in and meet with a client. I've been in this business 40 years. I know what happens in that kind of an environment. Something's going to blow up. Something's going to get missed. Somebody's going to talk about some issue that because she doesn't know about it, it's going to cause a problem. I eventually bowed out of that deal for this reason, that the entire team was not willing to play ball, which means generate notes every time there's interaction, nor, if you can believe it, even willing to read the notes, even if they were just consuming the information. Imagine as you grow that rather than have clients complain to you that as you've grown, all of a sudden they don't feel as special anymore. I remember when I was in my 20s, we started growing our firm pretty fast. I had my top client got me aside and said, "Mark, I have noticed that in the last year, as you've started exploding in the growth of your firm, that little things have suffered. You don't do things you used to do routinely, which I really liked." She just wanted to get me aside and tell me that, "Mark, please don't be one of these companies that as you grow and become extraordinarily successful, the service level declines for all the clients that got you there. In other words, don't forget us because we want to have the service level that we have come to expect no matter how fast you grow." Well, imagine this. What if as you double or triple the size of your revenue, your number of clients, what if you had your best clients reporting to you the opposite of that conversation? What if they were sitting down with you saying, "I am so impressed that as you've substantially grown the size of your firm, I'll be darned, the service level has actually gotten better, not worse." How do you do that? As you have exploded the growth of your business, how is it that my service level is increasing, not declining? Well, there are several tactics that we teach in our firm to make that happen, but chief among them are these notes. I could go back and cite dozens of examples where this process, generating notes within one business day, distributing them to everyone relevant within another bit, like within 2 business days, everybody's got it. To the point about the client that had a call with us and we met quickly, the estate planning attorney called and already knew about it. We've got a grid that's updated in real time that if there's an active either problem or opportunity that the team is currently working on, we list it there and the team gets a notice. So in this case, the estate planning lawyer got a little text from Slack. We use Slack, but there's Microsoft Teams. There's jillions of tools out there to do this. But because we have a solid methodology, this rose to the level of a notice to the entire team. So then when this member of our team needed to call the client on another matter, he already knew about this great thing we were working on for them. That's what you want. As you grow, you want your clients to compliment you on the fact that their service is actually getting better as time. The only thing that I would recommend as a leader of the team to encourage the use of these interaction logs, both creating them and consuming them, it's to constantly compliment your team for using this method. Whenever you come across a situation where the fact that you had really good notes and everybody on the team was dialed in to whatever the issue was for this client, you're going to find many examples where this methodology is going to save the day. But whenever it crosses your mind or you catch an issue that was benefited by this communications methodology, you should compliment your team. You should catch people doing these notes in a very effective and timely way and just constantly compliment your team members who utilize this method to a very high standard. We have members of our team that submit their interaction logs within 2 hours, almost always. That's a situation where the potential of actually impressing a client at some point is very high. So I hope this was helpful. I think it's worthwhile that you waited out the whole video to see all the little moving parts, because even if you leave out one little element in what I described, the communication can decline to being a problem. But doing it the way I described, company-wide standard, the format is metadata, what was discussed and what are the next steps and action items, giving access to everyone, and then complimenting your team. If you do all 4 of those things, I predict that your clients will notice and thank you for providing such a high level of service. That's all I've got. We'll see you in the next video.